Today we will talk about a subject that has been the focus of misconceptions and criticisms for years: hijab. What is hijab? What is not hijab? Who is it for? Is it really political? And is it really necessary? I'll explain it all in this video. No matter how varied the profile of hijab is in people's minds, there is only one fact, of course. There are aspects of this concept that do not fit the mold of today's modern society, who have adopted a pleasure-oriented life. When it comes to a person who is trying to seek true peace in temporary pleasures, it's very normal in this situation to react to even the smallest limitations. First and foremost, we need to perceive the hijab correctly, at the point of knowing it correctly. The pleasurable habits in life, gender identities in solid and abstract terms, and most importantly, the definitions and rules set by Islam should be well understood. In particular, the missing and wrong practices that have traditionally settled in society about women in hijab should not be confused with the realities of Islam. I would like to talk a little bit about what hijab is. Hijab is not a girl having to cover her hair when she reaches a certain age. It's not an order that isolates women from the outside world, restricts their education, marriage or social life. It's not a choice that we judge according to whether it's part of someone's life or not. And hijab is not a situation that only concerns women and imposes heavy responsibilities on them. If that's the type of perception you have, listen more carefully to this video. We talked a little bit about what hijab is not, how we should perceive it and the place it should have in our lives. Hijab is a subject that needs to be researched and learned in depth, not superficially, but before going into detail, we need to agree on this topic. First of all, it's an order sent by the Creator based on particular wisdom. We need to be clear about this and accept it. As human beings, we need some sanctions to protect the moral balance in society. For example, when emotions such as fear, love, ambition are not properly restricted, no one can really prevent the harm they will cause. Men and women are two beings who are constantly in the potential of being attracted to one another. In order to keep communication healthy, certain measures need to be taken. Just like these emotions, hijab takes its place as a guide for both men and women at the most important point of social life. Along with clothing, the most healthy dimension is balanced in matters such as behavioural patterns and contact measures, which is the best indicator that hijab is not formalism. Although some people inadequately and incorrectly apply the hijab, even if they see it as just an outfit, it doesn't mean that it's hijab. Let's not forget that the flaws in human beings cannot be attributed to the true rules of Islam. Despite correctly defining the hijab, there are still questions about its restrictive features. Let's examine the restrictive situations based in areas such as education and social life. First, let's consider the factors that affect a person's character and position in society without gender discrimination. We come across features such as knowledge, skills, thinking ability, creativity, language skills, diligence, willpower, speech, and body language. You can add more to these. For example, details such as the length and style of clothing and the degree of intimacy with the opposite gender are just a few of them. What kind of restrictions can be made on these features that are considered part of the hijab? Do features such as thinking, laughing and having fun disappear when she wears a hijab? Can she not produce a good project or idea without being intimate with a strange man? At this point, some important details have been ignored in the relentless criticism of the profile of women in the hijab in Islam. Perhaps you've never looked at these things from this perspective until today. We have examples such as Khadija radiallahu anha, one of the greatest trade experts of her time, who chose her husband when there was a debate about whether women were human. Aisha radiallahu anha, one of the greatest scholars of her time, a politician and a warrior woman, is another example. We also have Hannah, the mother of Maryam radiallahu anha, who showed strong determination in educating her daughter at a time when women were forbidden to even enter the schoolyard. There are just a few important details we should not forget about the value given to women. Given this, it is not logical that a religion with such a structure aims to devalue, restrict and deprive women of their freedom with the order of hijab. To put it more clearly, the hijab does not take women away from the concept of freedom or try to fit them into certain beauty patterns. It shares the beauty of a hijabi woman only with the people she wants, within the limits she deems appropriate. This is an indication of self-worth. Today there are hundreds of academic studies on the perception of beauty imposed by the media. We have statistics showing that women are negatively affected psychologically and almost 80% do not like themselves. There is a common perception of beauty that many women feel they must adhere to. No one can deny this, as it's always in front of our eyes in TV series, commercials and on sale sites. When she does not reach this standard, she considers herself ugly and turns to plastic surgery and permanent makeup. So how liberal is this order in terms of women recognizing their own ideas and loving their own bodies and preferences? Is it really the hijab that restricts freedom, or are these beauty standards which negatively affect women's psychology and force them to change the true restriction? Women with hijab are respectful, women without hijab cannot maintain this respect. Women with hijab have a happy family structure, while families without hijab lack peace. This generalization is not absolute, but the right hijab definitely teaches both sides the respect that should exist between men and women. The marriage and family dimension of the hijab is also very important. If the hijab becomes fully integrated into life, it protects a family against potential dangers, serving as the best precaution against situations that can weaken marital bonds. ones such as jealousy. Hijab is not just an order given to women. Men also have great responsibilities, both in not looking at what is forbidden and in covering their bodies. Hijab concerns both genders and is an order given to both. If the hijab is so necessary and important, why can the decision to quit be made so easily, and why are people not aware of it? Is leaving the hijab a stigma, criticism or judgment? Why has the number of people giving up the hijab increased recently? We need to answer such questions based on the real methods Islam recommends and commands, not on people's incomplete or incorrect practices. Placing a cross on someone who leaves the hijab is not an Islamic commandment and does not even fit the definition of hijab. This is just a tabloid dimension led by people, and the casual criticism has nothing to do with the real hijab. One of the biggest reasons for the problem of giving up the hijab is a lack of information and understanding. A person who knows what they're doing, why, for whom, with what facts and what they will gain or lose, will stand firmer in such important decisions and will not have difficulty choosing the right path. Of course, questioning is always better than unconditional acceptance, but we need to be very careful about the sources we use for inquiry. Ultimately, the hijab is an identity, a guide that protects and improves the morality of society. It concerns the lives of all people, men and women, and it's necessary for everyone. It's not so cheap as to lose its value through criticism and perception operations. We understand a little bit that the hijab is not political or formalism, and that people's mistakes cannot harm the real hijab identity. At the beginning, we said there is only one truth. Now that we have spoken the truth and facts, everyone can return to their own vision.